All right, so we went over the first 4 plagues, which are actually 5 plagues, right? Kind of. We have a preview plague, right? So what was ironic about the first 4 plagues that won't be the same when we get to tonight's stuff? Whose staff is being used over and over and over again? Aaron's staff. It's Aaron, take your staff. Aaron, take your staff. Aaron, take your staff. Okay, so the first kind of sign was the serpents, all right? And the Egyptian magicians did the same thing, all right? The second was what? Or the first? The first plague was what? See if we can do this. Blood, okay? Which goes down the what river? So the first goes down the Nile, all right? The second plague was what? Frogs, which hop, okay? And the third plague was what? Gnats, maybe. Lice. We're not sure what this Hebrew word means, all right? So I go, whatever, all right? So the third one is whatever that was. It was nasty, though, okay? And the fourth was what? Flies. So it flies away. See how easy this is? See, Vacation Bible School kicks back in 58 years later. So, all right, so Exodus 9 is where we're going to pick up. How's Pharaoh doing with all this? First plague, the blood of the Nile. How does he respond to it? Do you remember the wording? Do you remember the wording of what it says about him? He did not even take it to mind. Okay? He just blew it off, completely blew it off, like no big deal. All right? So God says, all right, second plague, frogs. Does he blow it off? No, why not? They are in his house and in his bed and in his palace and everywhere, all right? But the magicians do the same thing, all right? With the third, you may remember what's ironic about the third. What's different about the rhythm of the third plague? Say it louder. Not yet. I think that's the next one, the fourth one. There's a different rhythm to it. Go see him, tell him, let my people go. Go see him, tell him to let my people go. If he doesn't, and then the third one, what happens? Just take your staff, all right, strike the ground, and the whatever's, the gnats, lice, whatever you want to call it, whatever it was, will appear, okay? And do the magicians copy the third? So what do they say? Finger of God. Good, finger of God, okay? And then the fourth one, we have all these flies. Again, we're not sure exactly what the word means, but it means swarm. There's a swarm of something. And then they are all there, and then what happens? Every single last one of them gone. And I believe the fourth one is when we get the distinction between Goshen and the land of Egypt, which we'll see several times over on tonight, okay? So, all right, let's jump into 9. So the Lord said to Moses, go into Pharaoh, so we're back to our rhythm, and say to him, this is what Yahweh, the God of the Hebrews, says, let my people go so that they may worship me, all right? And who's he referring to? And this is the same rhythm he said over and over. When he says, let my people go so that they may worship me, who's he talking about going and worshiping? It sounds like a trick question, but it's not. Is he saying a certain group? Is he saying, let these people go but not these people? Or is he saying, let everybody go? You would go with that? All right, let's see how that plays out. 2, but if you refuse to let them go and keep holding them, then the Lord's hand will bring a severe plague against your livestock in the field. Okay? Now, I don't know if that's a qualifying thing, because we're going to have the horses, the donkeys, the camel herds, and the flocks in the field. Now, is that a qualifier? There's livestock in the field. Would there be livestock anywhere else? You see what I'm saying? The livestock that are in the field are going to endure a plague. Where else might you have livestock? in a barn, in a stable, okay? So what happens as soon as Pharaoh lets the Israelites go, about 5 minutes later, what does he think? I'm going to do this. What does he do? 5 minutes after the Israelites are heading out of town, what does Pharaoh do? Yeah, go away, don't come back. 5 minutes later, what does he do? With what? And chariots are pulled by, see what I'm saying? Okay, so that's why I'm saying I don't know if this is a qualifying. I don't know if there's some type of sort of, I don't know. But it does say the horses in the fields were all going to be destroyed, or a plague will be against them. Just interesting thought. But the Lord will make a distinction between the livestock of Israel and the livestock of Egypt, so that nothing of all that the Israelites owned will die or come to an end, is the literal translation of it. And the Lord set a time, saying, tomorrow the Lord will do this thing, this declaration in the land. The Lord did this the next day. So the Lord says to Moses, go to Pharaoh, tell him this, and then the Lord's doing it the next day. So what was the response of Pharaoh? What was the response of Pharaoh according to Moses writing here in Exodus 9? There is no response. It's go tell him, and we don't have any record of any type of response, but we do have the Lord doing this, or this declaration, this rhema, the next day. All the Egyptian livestock died or came to an end, but none of the Israelite livestock died. Now, it says in 7, Pharaoh sent what? Do you have sent messengers? Yeah, that word's not in there, so he inquired. That's all it says. He sought. Pharaoh sought out people, or sought out what happened. That not a single of the Israelite livestock was dead, but Pharaoh's heart was what? Hardened, and he did not let the people go. Again, this is the word for it was weighted down. I'm not moving. He sort of just bear down, and I'm not moving. You're going to have to pick me up and carry me out of here, all right? So he made himself weighty is the word here. Okay, 8. Everybody good with the livestock dying? Okay. 8. And I don't really go into this because the Bible really only mentions this once, maybe twice, the correlation between the plagues and the Egyptian gods. In Exodus 12:12, which we'll get to next week, it refers to this, that I destroyed the gods of Egypt, or I did damage to the gods of Egypt. That's the only time, and I always say it's kind of that one rifle shot. You don't know what to do with that. When you get a second or a third, you can go, okay, now it means something. But when you just have that one shot, you go, I heard a shot. I can't remember. I couldn't tell if it was over here, over here, over here. I just don't like to do that with the Bible, so we want to be careful with that. So I'm not going to go there. There is certainly a correlation between the gods that we know of in Egypt and the plagues. Like I said, the Bible only makes one sort of vague correlation, so you can run with that if you want to. There's plenty of charts out there that will tell you about it. Verse 8, then the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, not just Moses, take handfuls of furnace soot, and Moses is to throw it toward heaven in the sight, or in the eyes of Pharaoh. It will become fine dust over the entire land of Egypt. It will become festering boils on man and beast throughout the land of Egypt. So did we break our rhythm again? We don't have a go to Pharaoh, tell him, let my people go. But what do we have? We do have him going into the presence of Pharaoh, all right? There's no script mentioned, but what does he do? He takes soot out of the furnace and throws it in the sight, or literally in the eyes, ayin, in the eyeballs of Pharaoh. So not throw it into, he throws it up to heaven in the eye. I'm just saying the word ayin is the word for eyeball, ophthalmos in the Greek, ayin. Yeah, he didn't throw it, yeah. So he throws it toward heaven, okay. So, and he's got a good arm, because why? It covers the entire land of Egypt. So one little handful of soot, and Moses is slinging it, man. So the whole land is covered, and it turns into what? Not just boils, festering boils. Christy, can you tell us the difference between a boil and a festering boil? Yeah, it sounds disgusting. You don't want it that. Either way, it's just not good, okay? Um, Throughout the land of Egypt. Now, we're going to get this a lot, where it says the land of Egypt, the land of Egypt, the land of Egypt. And generally, when we get that phrase, the land of Egypt, it means the land of Egypt, but not what? Goshen, the land of the Israelites, whatever it's going to say. It makes a distinction. All right. 10, so they took furnace, soot, and stood before Pharaoh, stood in the face of Pharaoh. Moses threw it toward heaven, and it became festering boils on man and beast. 11, the magicians, who have done what all on half of these? Copied it. They're his advisors. They're his sort of tricksters, sort of his excuse. The magicians could not stand before Moses because of the boils, for the boils were on the magicians as well as on the Egyptians. The Egyptians were very well known for their hygiene. That's why most of them have the bald heads with the sort of garb on their head, right? That was so that they would not get lice. And if they would get lice in their hair, that kind of thing, so they would shave their heads, most of them. Okay, very well known for their hygiene and just the attention to that. So when they get boils, it was like, ooh, no, can't do anything. 12, but here's a different phrase. But what happens to Pharaoh's heart? The Lord hardened it, okay? Which I think it's an indication of when these start to get really, really bad, it's not Pharaoh that's hardening his heart anymore. It's what? The Lord is hardening his heart, all right? So you have almost a supernatural, a God doing something that Pharaoh is not the one doing this anymore. Pharaoh's not the one being stubborn. He's not the one pouting, folding his arms, you can't move me, I'm not doing anything, or strengthening his heart, all right? We get that word as well. The Lord is hardening it because he wasn't going to do it in and of himself. And why is that important? Why does God want to harden his heart? So that he won't let the people go. Wasn't the whole point of sending Moses so that they would let the people go? So why harden his heart when he's pretty much made the decision, okay, you can go. You don't get Passover, all right? Again, it's sort of the boxer holding the guy up because the bookies have him betting that he's going to knock him out in the 4th round, and he's pretty much knocked out in the 2nd, but he keeps holding him up 2 more rounds so that he gets paid off, all right? That's kind of the idea here. The other is the golf tee, that God continues to put him back on the tee so he can do what with him? Whack him again. All right. Okay, so the Lord hardens his heart, and he did not listen to them as the Lord had told Moses, because God somehow knew what was going to happen. How in the world could that be? How could God know what's going to happen before it happens? Remember our Greek word for this? We get our word horizon from it, pro-horizo. It's before the horizon. So just like you see that orange kind of glow coming around 7 o'clock, and you go, wonder what that is. And all of a sudden the sun comes up and he goes, again? Wow. At some point you have to have this pro-horizo knowledge that you know it's coming. All right. Okay, 13. Good. We're two plagues down. All right, so livestock and boils, so which is bad. This is really interesting, though. The hail one, it gets really interesting here. All right, 13. So the Lord said to Moses, and what's happening to Aaron here? We didn't get Aaron in the 5th plague. We get him in the 6th plague, but what does he do? Moses takes a soot. Moses throws it up in the air. It covers. What is Aaron doing? But what happened in the first 4, though? Aaron is doing it. Aaron's doing it. Now, do you think Moses is gaining confidence? Or is it just God just changing strategy here, midstream? We all do. We all do, until you read the first 4 plagues, and it's all Aaron and his staff. Now you get Moses. Okay? Again, you can speculate on a lot of them. The Lord said to Moses, get up early in the morning. All right? Is this important? Yeah, we've talked about this many times. Early in the morning, time and time again, God sends us mercies are new every morning. This is the third time he said, get up early in the morning, present yourself to Pharaoh, tell him this is what Yahweh, the God of the Hebrews, says. Let my people go so that they may worship me. Who? All of them? Does it imply all of them? Yeah, it does. Okay? You'll understand why I keep saying that. 14, otherwise, I'm going to send all my plagues against you, your officials, and your people. Then you will know. You will, and this is the Greek word for behold. If you see in the text, behold the Lamb of God who takes away the sin of the world. It's this idea of to perceive with your eyes. To eido, it's the Greek word eido, which means to perceive with your eyes. So, or behold this. So when someone tells you, behold the Lamb of God, what are they asking you to do? Think deeply? No, look and perceive something with your eyes. That's what this word is. Then you will perceive, know, behold, there is no one like me in all the earth. By now, this is 15, by now I could have stretched out my hand and struck you and your people with a plague, and you would have been obliterated from the earth. But, however, I have let you live for this purpose, to show you my power and to make my name known in all the earth. Now, somebody in the New Testament used that verse, didn't they? If you were paying attention on Sunday morning, you would have seen that Paul uses that in Romans 9:17. And what's the context of this? I show mercy to whom I show mercy, and I don't show mercy to the ones I don't. I harden those I want to. And here's an example. Pharaoh, here's the deal. I let you live. It literally means I kept you so that I could show my strength. I kept this idea of to keep something. So think of something valuable that you want to keep. Or, if you have an old castle, the middle area would be called the keep, right? It would be the safe place. I kept you safe so that I could demonstrate my strength. Again, it's sort of the boxer. I lifted you up one more round so I could pummel you some more. Because 40 years from now, a prostitute in Jericho is going to say what? Ooh, y'all are the people whose God messed up that guy 40 years ago, so that my name will be known, so my name will be perceived in all the earth. 17, you are still acting arrogantly against my people by not letting them go. So tomorrow at this time, I will rain down the worst hail, in the Hebrew it's kabod, the heaviest hail that has ever occurred in Egypt from the day it was founded until now. Therefore, give orders to bring your livestock and all that you have in the field into shelters. Every person and animal that is in the field and not brought inside will die from the hail when the hail falls on them. All right? So God says, you've been arrogant. You haven't listened to me. You won't let my people go. You've refused. You've recanted. You've hardened your heart. You've done all this. And so I'm going to send the heaviest, biggest hail ever, and it's going to kill everything out there. So be sure and bring your people into the shelters. Why does he do this? Is God getting soft on us? Is this what you do with your enemy? I'm going to send hail to destroy everything. So make sure you bring it inside so that it won't get what? Destroyed. So why send the hail in the first place? Are we negotiating here? Is God a good threatener here? What do you think? God says, you are refusing, you won't do this. I keep lifting you up so I can show my power off, and I'm going to show you my power off because you refuse to humble yourself, and I'm going to send the worst hail ever you've ever known, that Egypt has ever known. So make sure you bring your cattle into the shelters. Should God do that? What's God showing in this moment? Compassion? You think? Why is he showing compassion in this moment? He's punishing them because they keep refusing, because they won't humble themselves. And at the same time, he's doing what? So bring your cattle into the shelters, because I don't want them all to die. Why does he even say that? Because he doesn't want them to die. But what does he want to do? He wants them to go, I'm glad we brought our cattle into the shelter, because if not, God would have killed them. So what would that create in them? see where he's kind of going with this, all right? So I would agree. It is a compassionate thing, but it's also if I'm dead, who cares if I know the name of Yahweh? But if I live through it, what happens? I can go, what? You should have seen what could have happened to us, what this God did, okay? Interesting. Great strategy here. All right, 10. Those among Pharaoh's officials who feared the rhema of the Lord, the word of the Lord, the declaration of the Lord, made their servants and livestock flee to shelters, okay? So this word fear, man, it's such a cool word in the Hebrew. It's the Greek word, or Hebrew word Yahweh. It's the Greek word phobos, all right? We get a word phobia from this, which I think, when I think of phobias, I think of irrational fears. Anybody else with me? All right, arachnophobia, you're afraid of spiders. All right, agoraphobia, you're afraid of going outside. All right, all of these things that are phobias that we think, well, that you're just weird. All right, that's just some psychological problem. You're afraid of escalators or something like that. All right, mine is bridges. We all have our irrational fears. All right, bridges, yeah, frogs. No, I'm not afraid of frogs. They're just nasty. Okay, it's kind of like Brussels sprouts. I'm not afraid of Brussels sprouts. Just keep them away from me. Okay. Mine are bridges. I have an irrational fear that I'm actually going to go off the bridge, and so, which is really hard when you grow up in Florida, and you have to go over really big bridges sometimes, and it's just, I just get chills, okay? But it's an irrational fear. This word Yahweh is the Hebrew word, and I always say it's a combination of three emotions that I've kind of come up with this. You're on a date with the most beautiful person you've ever seen in your life, at the Grand Canyon, sitting on the rim of the Grand Canyon, and a bear attacks you. Did you get all that in one moment? This beauty of awe and terror all at the same time. David's moving, think about this. David's moving the Ark of the Covenant. Y'all with me? He's moving the Ark of the Covenant. They got it on the cart. They're riding it. They got a big parade. I mean, the whole band is out there. It's 7 miles of fun, all right? And what happens? The cart hits a bump or something, about to fall over, and what happens? Uzziah reaches out and steadies it, and he's the hero for about a half second. And then what happens? Dead. And it says, in that moment, for the first time, David feared the Lord. Now, you got to understand, he's 30 years old. This is the first time it ever mentions that David feared the Lord in that moment. So there was this awe, terror, beauty, all that stuff combined to it. So this is where it says, those Pharaoh's officials who feared the declaration, the rhema of the Lord, made him go inside. Those who didn't take the Lord's word seriously. You may have a different translation on that. We probably all have the same one. In the Hebrew, it's real simple, leb, which means your heart. They did not take it to heart. The Greek is they did not proseko, which means to hold it in front of you. When we use the word beware of something, it's hold it in front of you. Don't let it get out of your sight. You need to keep an eye on that thing. All right? They left their servants and livestock out in the field, which is not a good decision. Because when God warns you and tells you, you should probably bring them in, because this is going to be the worst thing ever. You should probably take it to heart. 22, then the Lord said to Moses, stretch out your hand toward heaven and let there be hail throughout the land of Egypt. Again, what does that mean? If we say throughout the land of Egypt, in your head you should go, but not what? But not Goshen, all right? On man and beast, every plant of the field of the land, all right? So Moses stretched out his hand or his staff. God said, stretch out your hand, and Moses stretched out his staff. We get this a couple of times. Don't get weird about it, all right? And then, of course, we're going to change it up, and then he's going to say, stretch out your hand, and what's he going to stretch out? His hand. So we get this sort of interchangeable thing, because the staff was likely where? In his hand, okay. So Moses stretched out his hand toward heaven. The Lord sent thunder, phonos, boom, 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 sounds. Literally, he sent sounds. That storm we had a couple of nights ago, it was rattling the whole house. Lincoln was freaking out. It was awesome, all right? But it was just this boom, boom. That's the thunder and hail. Lightning, or better stated, fire struck the earth. All right, so when you have thunder and you have fire striking the earth, what's Moses talking about? Likely. Lightning, fire striking the earth. Okay, it's just the word fire here. So, and the Lord rained hail on the land of Egypt. The hail with, again, fire flashing in it. I don't even know what that means, but imagine the hail with lightning in it. Again, some combination of that. It was so heavy or severe that nothing like it had occurred in the land of Egypt since it had become a nation, just like God said. Throughout the what? The land of Egypt, the hail struck down everything where? In the field. What about in the shelters? They're all good. Both man and beast. The hail beat down every plant of the field, shattered every tree in the field. That's pretty bad hail. Anybody ever been in that hailstorm before? Remember Ash and I got caught in a hailstorm. We were eating out next to Hewlin Mall in Fort Worth, and we were at a restaurant. We thought, we got time. We could beat it home, all this good stuff. So we're in the restaurant, and it's baseball-sized hail. And it's coming. Car alarms going off everywhere, and it's hitting the roof of the restaurant, and it's hitting it so hard that dust is coming down from the ceiling and the ceiling tiles, and it got in everybody's drinks. They had to replace everybody's drinks. That's how hard it was hitting that night. So when I think of it shattering trees, all right, I've seen it shatter windows, and I had the hail damage on my car. So the only place that it didn't hail was where? The land of Goshen, where the Israelites were, which tells us what? When God sends his wrath, what can he also do? Or what will he also do? He will protect those that are his. All right? So when we talk about the wrath of God is going to be poured out on the earth, well, not on us, which is why I hold the pre-wrath view of end times, second coming of Christ, rapture. So, because I think it's a very clear statement. 27. Pharaoh sent for Moses and Aaron. Yay, Aaron got to play again. I have sinned this time. Every time I read this, I hear Jimmy Swaggart. Y'all remember, y'all there are old enough, y'all remember that. I have sinned. But I'll be back next week so buy this vase for $20 and I'll send it to you. And anyway, I have sinned this time. He said to them, Yahweh is the righteous one, and I and my people are the guilty ones. Make an appeal to Yahweh. There has been enough of God's thunder and hail. I will let you go. You don't need to stay any longer. What do you think? I have sinned, so make an appeal for me. Do you see that? What if he just stops there? I've sinned. I'm the guilty one. I deserve this. What do you think when he starts I've sinned, so make an appeal for me? I was wrong, but can you make this go away? What happens when there's pain? When there's pain, there's always sorrow. But it's really interesting when you take the pain away. You see this in parenting. When you take the pain away, what happens to the sorrow? Put the pain back. Take the pain away. All right. Let's see how this plays out. 29, Moses said to him, when I have left the city, I will extend my hands to Yahweh. The thunder will cease. There will be no more hail, so that you may know the earth belongs to Yahweh. But as for you and your officials, I know that you still do not fear Yahweh, our God. How does he know? Just intuition? Or just it's obvious? You think it's obvious? When Pharaoh says, I have sinned, you take that seriously? I don't know. That's hard. Because that's a big bar, right? It's a big bar for Pharaoh to come up and say, I have sinned. I was wrong. Please help me. Say it one more time. He was being selfish. He was being selfish. But still it's hard for someone that's in power to say they're sorry unless they're being extremely manipulative. All right? I think that's just a high bar. All right. 31. This is somewhat interesting. I don't know what you want to do with it. The flax and the barley were destroyed because the barley was ripe, and the flax was budding, but the wheat and the spelt were not destroyed, since they are later crops. Thank you, Moses, because we were curious about Egyptian planting seasons. 33, then Moses went out from Pharaoh and the city and extended his hand to the Lord. Then the thunder and hail ceased, and rain no longer poured down on the land. If he was insincere, then why did God stop it? He does have to get to the next plague, and we only have a couple of chapters here. So, is that the goal? Is the goal to absolutely destroy them? No, again, it's the boxing match. If you knock him out in the 7th round, and you want to get to 10, what have you accomplished? He goes, I got more. I got more. Trust me. It's going to actually get worse. 34, then when Pharaoh saw that the rain, the hail, and the thunder had ceased, pain alleviated, what does he do? Sinned again and hardened his heart. Who did what? Hardened his heart. All right, it's not the Lord doing it. He and his officials. So Pharaoh's heart hardened. Him doing it or the Lord doing it? It's inconclusive. All it says is Pharaoh's heart hardened. Now, did the Lord do it or did Pharaoh do it? We don't know. We don't have any of that sort of direct object, indirect object. So, and he did not let the Israelites go as the Lord had said through Moses. And again, how in the world could he know that? I don't know. 8th plague, chapter 10. Y'all ready? Then the Lord said to Moses, go to Pharaoh. And again, we lost Aaron. We keep losing Aaron in this round, in these chapters. Go to Pharaoh, for I have what? Hardened his heart. So what can we do with 35 now? Pharaoh's heart hardened, and then the next verse it says, I hardened Pharaoh's heart. So what can you imply or infer? That God is the one doing this. And the hearts of his officials, so that, because he's got a purpose for this, a purpose for hardening his heart, I may do these miraculous signs of mine among them, and so that you, careful with this, watch this, you may tell your son and grandson how severely I dealt with the Egyptians and performed miraculous signs among them, and you will know that I am Yahweh. How's that going to work out? I mean, we leave Egypt all good, right? We get about a week out, and what's happening to all the people that know the works of the Lord? What are they doing? What's our word? Y'all remember our word for complaining? Gonguzmasing, all right? Gonguzmasing. They're complaining. And when you get to Judges 2, it says the people turned away from the Lord because they did not know the works of the Lord. So when God speaks to him, he says, Moses, I'm going to do this so that you may tell your son and grandson, so the generations will know. And what happens by Judges 50 years later? How can they not know? How can they not know the works? Parents, how? They're not telling them. They're simply not telling them the works of the Lord. And what happens? What happens? We get in that Judges cycle. Y'all remember that? All right? We get into the washing machine of the Judges. All right? I just think it's interesting that it's not so the Egyptians will know, it's so who will know? Israelites. Isn't that just as important? I mean, if the Egyptians know and they're scared, that's awesome. But if the Israelites don't know, that's going to be a problem, in which it is in Judges 2:10. All right? 3. So Moses and Aaron, yay, Aaron's back, went into Pharaoh and told him, this is what Yahweh, the God of the Hebrews, says. How long will you refuse to humble yourselves before me in my face? Let my people go that they may worship me. Who? My people, they, okay? But if you refuse to let my people go, then tomorrow's really a bad day in Egypt, isn't it? Yeah, it's all, you wait. It's kind of, you wait till dad gets home, all right? Tomorrow's going to be a bad day. I will bring locusts into your territory. They will cover the surface of the land so that no one will be able to see the land. That's pretty bad, right? Hey, where'd the land go? Oh, it's underneath the locusts. That's how many we're talking about. They will eat the remainder left to you that escaped the hail. All right? So if I didn't get it with the hail with lightning and fire inside of it, I'm going to get it with the locusts. They will eat every tree you have growing in the field. They will fill your houses. That's even gross. All your officials' houses and the houses of all the Egyptians. All right? So implied what? If it's in the houses of the Egyptians, specifically, it's not where? Goshen. Something your fathers and ancestors never saw since the time they occupied the land until today. So what's happening with these plagues? What about the hail? How bad was the hail? Worst ever. How bad are the locusts going to be? Worst ever. Okay? You should see this pattern. And now what we're going to see eventually in the new, well, we get it in Jeremiah, we get it in Daniel, and then we get it in Matthew 24, is there will be a time of tribulation such as never was before and never will again. And this phrase comes back to your mind when you read these, okay? Which is why Jesus says, if I didn't cut those days short, no one would survive. None. No one would survive. Where we go, they will fill your house. Something your fathers and ancestors never saw since the time they occupied the land until today. Then he turned and left Pharaoh's presence. You get a little mic drop right there? All right? Yeah, I'm going to, what the hail didn't take out, I'm going to send locusts so you can't even see the ground. And so have fun with that. Mic drop. Pharaoh's officials said to him very quickly and eagerly, how long must this man be a snare to us? Let who? That's pretty misogynistic of them. Let the men go so they may worship Yahweh their God. Don't you realize yet that Egypt is devastated? It's perishing. Literally, it's perishing. So do this. Let the men go. Now, has Moses at any point said, let the men go so that the men may worship me? In any case, on any moment, has that ever been on the issue? No. So what are they doing by saying, hey, don't you realize this guy, how long is this guy going to be a snare to us? Just let the men go. And let the men go and do what he's asking for, and we'll be good. What's he doing? Is he negotiating? Why didn't he say, let them all go? Why does he say, just let the men go? Yeah, the men will come back. But the whole plan or the whole request was what? Let us go back to the land of Canaan and never come back ever again? No. What was the original? 3 days. Send us out. Let us go 3 days. We'll go worship and we'll come back. That's the plan. That's all he had to do, agree to. But again, he wasn't going to let them go, and who else wasn't going to let them go for just 3 days? God. Because why? He's driving. He's driving them. He's got to get to that 10th round. He's got to hold them up because we've got to get to Passover, which is so cool because we'll be studying this next week, Passover, during the week of Passover. What a coincidence. All right. Okay. 8. So Moses and Aaron were brought back to Pharaoh. All right. Drop the mic. Come back. Go worship Yahweh your God. Pharaoh said, but exactly who will be going? So who exactly are you planning on taking here? All right. Because what did his officials say? Just let the men go. So he goes, so who are you planning on taking? All right. We will go with, and look at these categories, our young and our old, our sons and our daughters, our flocks and our herds. Everybody. All right. Because we must hold Yahweh's festival. And what would that entail? They don't know. There is no definition of these festivals yet. All right. Which is we're eventually going to get, Festival of Unleavened Bread, Passover, First Fruits, Sukkot, trumpets, all that stuff. All right? He said to them, may Yahweh be with you if I ever let you and your families go. Look out, you're planning evil. Now, this is Pharaoh talking to who? Moses and Aaron. And he says, may Yahweh be with you if I let you go. You better pray God's with you if I ever let you go, because I know you're planning evil. Yeah, because those dastardly slaves that want to go worship in the wilderness are planning evil. All right? What do they say about people who make accusations? If you accuse somebody of something, you're probably what? You're probably doing the same thing. Okay? You're deflecting. 11. No, only the men may go and worship Yahweh, for that is what you have been asking for. To which you want to go, Pharaoh, you need to go read Exodus. He hasn't ever asked for anything else other than what? Let my people go so that they may worship. But yet he plays this little, that's what you've been asking for. Now, a weak person in a negotiation at this point would do what? If Moses and Aaron were weak in this negotiating thing, they would do what? Did we say that? Did I say just men? Did I ever say just men? Maybe I did say just men. All right? So Pharaoh's playing the power move, right? You see what he's doing? He read Trump's Art of the Deal, okay? He's trying to pull something on him. So only the men may go, for that is what you have been asking for. And they were thrown out, ekbalo, thrown out from Pharaoh's presence, driven away. 12. So the Lord then said to Moses, because imagine this moment, all right? Because what's Pharaoh done here? He said, only the men, and I know you're planning evil, and I'm throwing you out. Is God going to go, oh, well, never mind. I guess we'll just go with the just men. Because the threat has been what? What's the threat in this round? I'm going to send what? Locusts, all right? Mic drop, walk out. Hey, go back and just say just the men. All right, get them back in here. Who's going to go? Just the men. That's all you've been asking for is just the men. Now you don't want this? Get out of my presence. Thrown out. Ekbalo. Thrown out. Literally, balo, to throw. All right? Driven from Pharaoh's presence. Then the Lord said to Moses, scoot back. Stretch out your what? Hand over the land of Egypt, not the land of... There we go. All right, y'all getting the hang of this. And the locusts will come up over it and eat how many of the plants? Every one of them. Everything that the hail left. So if the hail didn't bust this thing up, the locusts are coming to get it. Can you imagine how devastated Egypt is at this point? I mean, we actually have a reference to this. I think it should be about 450 years later. The Philistines are I want to say they're fighting either David or Solomon. They actually make the reference to, he's the God who did all of this. He's the God who did this. So 450 years later, they're going, you should hear what this guy did. Because think through all the things that have happened. And they're still holding on, because why? Because God keeps propping them up. So Moses stretched out his staff over the land of Egypt. All right, just interesting. And the Lord sent an east wind over the land all that day and through the night. By morning, the east wind had brought in the locusts. The locusts went up over the entire land of Egypt and settled on the whole territory of Egypt. Never before had there been such a large number of locusts, and there never will be again. It's a pretty bold statement, isn't it? I like that. They covered the surface of the whole land so that the land was black, and they consumed all the plants on the ground and all the fruit on the trees that the hail had left. Nothing green was left on the trees or the plants in the field throughout the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh's sitting there looking out over his kingdom thinking what? All right, cattle's dead. All right, we're still recovering from that bloody Nile thing. Frog stinks just still floating in the air. The gnats finally got out of here. The flies finally got out of here. That hail with fire inside, that was scary, all right? The boils starting to heal. They still got the scars going on. And now whatever the hail didn't destroy, this locust swarm comes up and gets it. This is not a good thing. Not a good thing at all. 16. Pharaoh urgently sent or called for Moses and Aaron, because you got to get Aaron back in on this, and said, I have sinned against Yahweh your God and against you. Please forgive my sin once more. Can you keep going to that well? So yeah, how many times are you going to go to that well? and make an appeal to Yahweh your God so that he will take this death away from me. Interesting phrase here in 17. Y'all look at this. Please forgive my sin. Okay? Forgive my sin. Normally in the New Testament, it's the idea of Peter and Andrew dropping their nets, aphiemi. Just let it go. Let go of my sin. When Mary anoints Jesus' feet, Jesus says to them, forgive her, or leave her alone. Let her go. Okay, y'all with me on this? This aphiemi means to let something go. Let go of your nets, drop your nets, leave her alone, let her go. This time it doesn't use that phrase. It's in the Greek, it's prosdekomai. Okay? Now we've talked about this word a couple of times. You lambano when the pizza guy comes, right? What do you do when grandma comes? Dekomai. Dekomai. You grandma, welcome, come in. All right? This is the word he uses for forgive my sin. It's an affectionate term of take this sin from me. In the Hebrew, it's nasa. Nasa, I always think NASA, which means rockets, to lift them off. So he's asking him to do something profoundly compassionate. He's not saying, please just let go of my sin. He says, let go of my sin and essentially welcome me into your presence. It's almost, think of it this way. So imagine your kids just royally screw up. I mean, just train wreck, beyond train wreck. And what do you do with their failure? Do you hold it over their head, mock them, taunt them with it? Or do you go, if I could only take that sin away from you and take it into myself, I would take this away from you. I would take all the pain and the hurt and the suffering you're feeling, and I would bear this. That's the word right here. And that's pretty gutsy, isn't it? So I have sinned. Please take this and make an appeal so that he will take this death away from me. Now, is that a little more sincere than the previous? I mean, the language certainly is. There's no doubt the language is way, way, way more sincere, all right? Much more just sort of confessional. And what's the response? What does Moses say in response? The next phrase is what? Moses left. So what does he say? So please forgive my sin, make an appeal so he will take this death away from me. And Moses just leaves. That's pretty cold. I don't know. That's pretty gutsy right there. Who knows what the conversation was, but I love the way Moses portrays this. 18, Moses left Pharaoh's presence and appealed to the Lord. Why? Yeah, he asked him to do that, and he did. Then the Lord changed the wind to a strong west wind and carried off the locusts, blew them into the Red Sea. Not a what? Single locust was left. Again, the detail here. I love this. In all the territory of Egypt. But, verse 20, the Lord does what? Hold him back, pick him back up. Don't let him get knocked out. We still got 10 rounds to go. But the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he did not let the Israelites go. Then the Lord said to Moses, stretch out your hand toward heaven, and there will be darkness over the land of Egypt, a darkness that can be felt. I don't know if this is the best interpretation or translation of this phrase, okay? Because a darkness that can be felt. What does that even mean? Have you ever felt darkness before? I mean, like literally feel it. Yeah, I've been there. I've been there, and you're like, yeah, it's like literally. So have any of you woken up at night and you didn't have any lights whatsoever and you were in a strange room? How did you get around? Did you just walk and the heck with my toes? I've been waiting to stump my toes somewhere anywhere. What do you do when it's that dark? I do this. Sometimes Ashley will go to bed before I do, and I have to go into like our bathroom and everything. And so I know if I do this, I know if I put my hands in front of me and do this, my hands will run into something before I do, okay? But we do this so we feel our way around in the dark. Y'all with me? This is the word here. It's to feel. It's literally, though, you will, at one point there's a curse placed on Israel. It says you will grope around at noontime because you will be in such bad straits. And so it's the idea of grope, or not in a whatever crazy way, but just you kind of feel your way around the room, okay? Because it is so dark, you literally cannot see anything, all right? And again, we break the rhythm here because where's the conversation with Pharaoh? There isn't one. So stretch out your hand toward heaven and there will be this darkness that will be felt, okay? This is the word when Isaac is being tricked by Jacob. And how does he try to figure out what's going on? He does what with Jacob's arm? You feel your arm. And what Jacob had done what? Put goat's hair, which sounds really, oh, that's Esau. No, it's goat. How nasty was Esau? I mean, no. Ooh. All right. So Moses stretched out his hand. God said, stretch out your hand. So Moses stretched out his hand toward heaven, not his staff. And there was thick darkness throughout the land of Egypt for 3 days. What do we do with that? Should we do anything with that? 3 days is kind of there's a few things we can do with that. All right? So the 3 days, Jesus in the tomb for 3 days. There's darkness in the tomb, that kind of thing you can play with. No one else makes that connection, so let's don't. You can also go 3 days, there's darkness for 3, which means how dark was it? The darkest. All right, darker, darker, darkest. Okay, you can play with that. A couple of things you can do, but I don't think we need to do too much with it. One person could not see another, and for 3 days they did not move from where they were. Yet, all the Israelites had light where they lived, okay? Again, we get this distinction over and over and over again in the backside of these plagues, all right? Which, this is the big thing about the Hebrews. Their ambition, their hope is light, enlightenment, okay? Which Paul talks to the Corinthians about when he says that Christ is the knowledge of the light of the knowledge of the glory of Christ. The light is Jewish, the glory is Rome, the knowledge is Greek. That's their ambitions. Y'all with me on that? So when Paul writes to the Corinthians and he says that Christ is the light of the knowledge of the glory, did I say that right? Yeah. So you get the Roman, Greek, Jewish thing there. So interesting. Okay, so 24. I guess it's after 3 days. Pharaoh summoned Moses and said, go, go, worship Yahweh. Even your families may go with you, but still negotiating. Only your flocks and your herds must stay behind. All right? Dude, how bad do you have to get beat up? At what point do you go, no, I'm good, you just go, all right? But again, that's not the plan. It's not what God is trying to do. So when it talks about God showing mercy to some and hardening others, we have this plan that God has to harden the heart of Pharaoh so that we can keep going, so that we can get to Passover, which paints the picture of Christ dying on the cross, okay? Moses responded. And in the Greek, the word Allah, y'all remember the big butt word? All right, on the contrary, you must also let us have sacrifices and burnt offerings to prepare for Yahweh our God. Even our livestock must go with us. Not a hoof will be left behind. So who's negotiating now? I mean, Moses starts off the negotiation how? How is he asking, let my people go into the wilderness for 3 days so that we may worship? And now we're on the 9th plague and he's saying what? Oh, no. We're taking everybody and we're taking everything and we ain't even leaving a hoof behind. All right? Now, who's in a good position? Like, as Trump would say, who's holding all the cards? Moses seems to be holding all the cards, all right? Yeah, I think that's fairly obvious, okay? Because what's it been like in the land of Goshen over all these plagues? Like Tuesday? I mean, imagine looking over and your neighbor is like getting hit by a tornado, a hailstorm. His dog just died. He's got sores all over him. It's pitch black on his fence line. I mean, your locusts covering his house, and yours is just fine. So they've been like, dang, I'm glad I'm not over there the whole time, okay? Not a hoof will be left behind, because we will take some of them to worship Yahweh our God. We will not know what we will use to worship Yahweh until we get there. We don't know what God's going to say. Hey, kill this donkey, kill this ox, whatever. We don't know. Now, I don't know if that was a negotiating tactic or just a defiant, nah, we're holding all the cards. We're taking everything with us. 27, but the Lord does what? Harden Pharaoh's heart. I always wonder if something in Pharaoh is going, what are you saying? Why do you keep saying this? Or if he's like all in, or if it's sort of this possessed kind of a schizophrenic multiple personality disorder thing of, and his officials, what are his officials doing? Seriously? What else can happen to us here, which they will find out next week, all right? The Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he was unwilling to let them go. Okay, now here's an interesting word, especially in the Greek. In the Greek, there's this word boulomai. Boulomai tends to be more of your overall, overarching will, all right? So I have a plan, I have a design. This is what I have in mind. This is what I'm trying to accomplish, and this is my will. So my will for my children is that they get good jobs, marry great partners, have wonderful children, bless me with all of this, live happily ever after, okay? Now, boulomai means my plan. Thelomai means I want Caden to go to class tomorrow, all right? And I want Court to make sure he works out, and I want Holland to be safe on the subway. Okay, do you see the difference between thelomai, micro, boulomai, macro? Y'all with me? So we have these words. So they will generally, thelomai is used because it's generally in the short-term micro version of this. But this is this idea, and that's why I say it's interesting here when it's used in this word, because he was unwilling. Does that mean in the moment or at all? I'm never letting these people go, or I want to let them go. I want to let them go because of all this damage. Evidently, in the boulomai is the last thing affected by the damage. Thelomai will be affected, all right? He was unwilling in the long term to let them go. And Pharaoh said to him, leave me. Make sure you never see my face again, for on the day you see my face, you will die. Moses says, as you have said, I will never see your face again. Say that one more time. This unwilling is boulomai, which means the long term, which implies not that he's unwilling in the moment, but he's always been unwilling, and he will continue to kind of have this. So, if it's the plan for my kids, that plan is this long-term plan of what I foresee. But what happens if, somebody gets cancer or in a car accident becomes a paraplegic? It changes in the short term. All right, now I just want him to wake up. Now I want him to live. I want him to eat that day. I want him whatever. I let go of my long-term plan, but I still have that plan in my head, that expectation. So that's why I said it was kind of his, and I think the Prince of Egypt movie kind of plays that part of it pretty well, because he's like, I don't want to be the weak link, so I'm never letting them go. I don't care what happens. Thelomai would be, this happened, okay, let him go, without that long-term idea, okay? And again, that's kind of what's behind I think, the scene of this. He was hardening his heart. He was hardening his heart because he had this plan, this boulomai. But when the thelomai started to kick in, God had to do what? No. I got to harden your heart. I got to sclerosis your heart. Make it where you don't respond, and make it heavy. So, again, those terms are used interchangeably. All right? And also the word kazak, to strengthen it. No, I'm defiant. I'm not going to let you go, hardening my heart. So we get that combination of either making it heavy or making it strong so that you won't let them go. Okay? But again, that's going to change next week when we get into 11 and 12 and go through all of Passover. Cool? Good deal? Did she really say that? That's hilarious. Yep, the land of Goshen. Well, like I said, if you're in the cul-de-sac and your house is doing great and everybody else's house is your dog died and hail with fire inside hits it, you want to be in the land of Goshen. So, all right, let's pray. Father, thank you for letting us come and study your word and to look deeply into this. Father, may we see the awesome sovereignty of your ability to tell stories, to move, literally to move heaven and earth, to tell your story, to bring about our salvation through the person of Christ. And I thank you that you are telling the story in such a profound and passionate way. I thank you for just the opportunity to study your word. I thank you that you have preserved your scriptures for so many millennia so that we could sit here tonight and look at them very carefully. So I pray that we would learn from this, that we would grow from this, that we would be more like you because we understand you more. And I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.